Since the release of the 7800X3D, I have consistently been saying, do not buy this CPU. Buy a 13900K, and I've gotten a lot of comments saying I'm wrong. Well, let's see what the truth is. It's no secret that I am a big fan of the 13900K. This is my main gaming CPU. And I've always been saying, buy this instead of an AMD CPU. You're going to get higher performance. I said the same thing 3 years ago, back with the 10900K and the 5950X. But what a lot of people forget is that last year, my favorite CPU actually was a 5800X3D. It gave great value. You could just plug it in and get insanely high FPS. Didn't have to worry about tuning PBO, tuning RAM. Just plug in that CPU and you have high FPS. So the 7800X3D is out now, and that claims to do the same thing. Give you high FPS just by plugging in the CPU. And there you go, you don't have to do any tuning. But the 7800X3D is a little bit different. They've actually given you the ability to tune Precision Boost Overdrive, giving you slightly better performance or even lower voltage through something like Curve Optimizer and just undervolting it. There are a couple of ways of doing locked clocks, but I'm not going to be talking about any of those today. Really, that's irrelevant and it's not going to help you at all. So I was able to test a 7800X3D. I had a supporter in my Discord reach out to me saying, hey, I picked up 7800X3D, and I was like, I will tune your PC for free and result for just getting a couple of benchmarks and comparing it versus my 13900K. The PCs were both max overclocked with the same parts. So his was a 7800X3D on a B650 gigabyte board, and then it was 6000 CL30 RAM overclocked to 6200 CL30 with FCOK at 2067. Basically the fastest AM5 platform you can get as of right now. My 13900K is tuned to 5.7 on the P cores, 4.4 on the E cores, and 4.9 on the ring with 7800 CL36 RAM. This 13900K is not the fastest 13900K, but as I've proven before with my 32 versus 64 gigabyte RAM test, you're getting about the same FPS no matter what speed you go with. So I ran 4 benchmarks here. I ran the Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 benchmark at 1440p low. All these benchmarks here are going to be at 1440p. Riftbreaker CPU benchmark in DirectX 11. Then I ran CSGO, all low settings, 1440p once again, and the FPS benchmark, the workshop map. And then Rainbow Six Siege with the built-in benchmark at Vulkan, which is the highest FPS that you can get from Siege. So there's different APIs, different ways of testing and seeing, okay, but these are all CPU-bound scenarios. That was the main goal here. Before we get into these actual benchmarks though, if you do want to support me, making sure that in the future when new hardware comes out, I can actually buy it myself and not having to rely on doing remote overclocks and benchmarks, hit the link down below, join the Discord. You will also find a way to support me through a Discord membership. You get access to some special channels as well as a guide on how to overclock your PC yourself. If you want your PC to get as high FPS as you're about to see in these benchmarks, also hit the link down below. For $100, I can overclock your PC, getting the most FPS out of it. Now on to the benchmarks. Starting off the benchmarks here with MW2, and here we have a win for the 7800X3D. You're getting about 25 more FPS going to a 7800X3D in the averages. The lows are slightly better, about 15 FPS higher. So this is a win for the 7800X3D in this Modern Warfare 2 benchmark. This benchmark does pretty much scale, so the faster the CPU is, the faster it will be, but we need to talk about Warzone coming up later in this video. Now on to the next benchmark. Next up on the benchmarks, we have Riftbreaker, and this is a 13900K win. Look at those lows compared to the 7800X3D. So yes, you're getting about 11 more FPS on average, but those lows, you're getting 18 more FPS in the 1% and over 20 more, 22 in the 0.1% FPS. So if this was a game people actually played, you would notice a difference in the lows, and you would notice a significantly smoother gaming performance out of the 13900K. This is DX11 also, so this is a more CPU demanding graphics API, I'd say. So 13900K wins. Next up on the benchmarks, we have CSGO, and this is an absolute blowout. 13900K wins by over 200 FPS here. Now, we couldn't test lows in this benchmark. This benchmark is not good for the lows, but just basing off the averages and knowing how this AMD CPU performs, 13900K does win. CSGO tends to favor clock speed, and that is what the 13900K has. Now we have the last benchmark here, which is Rainbow Six Siege, and the 13900K absolutely destroys it. I mean, just look at this. The lows on the 7800X3D are really bad. We're about to talk about why I believe that these lows are just so bad, but like the max FPS on the 7800X3D is the min FPS almost of the 13900K. It's a completely different gaming CPU, completely different gaming experience, over 250 FPS difference in the averages. It's honestly just Intel destroyed AMD here. Why is this happening? Why is AMD losing so much, especially in these lows? AMD really tried to tend the CPU towards low power consumption, so high efficiency, and low temperatures, and this is to their detriment. If you open up something like hardware info, something where you can see effective clocks or even the clock speed sometimes, you'll notice that these CPUs are constantly trying to downclock. So if you can get all these cores running at 5.1, which is what I was running this 7800X3D at, you're going to be fine. But those effectives are constantly trying to downclock. It's really weird why AMD did this. Maybe they'll be able to fix this in a BIOS update or a chipset update, and that will really change the experience of the whole CPU. Like, it's honestly sad that AMD just cared about that so much. I understand these CPUs can run hot, but for my testing, even in a max CPU load, I think I was running like 70C. Like, that's completely fine. You have more thermal headroom, AMD. Just give us that extra performance, or even don't even enable it by default, but give you the option to still do it if you want. The reason I was able to figure this out was by looking at hardware info while having people with 7800X3Ds running through Warzone at a certain spot near downtown, the Almiraza area. So I ran the same spot with my 13900K. Here's the video of the 7800X3D. That's right, the 7800X3D had a 0.1% lows of 84 FPS. That's not a good gaming experience. Feeling your FPS dip even just a little bit down to under 100 FPS when the average is over 200, you're going to notice a significant FPS difference. Now, let's go into Warzone 2 on my gaming PC, and let's see what we get. I've been sitting waiting for a Warzone lobby for like forever. Is this game just dead now? Here we are in Warzone now. So what I'm going to do is we're going to be dropping at Almiraza City, and we're going to be dropping right here, and we're just going to be running down with the benchmarks. I do have every single one of the, I have MSI Afterburner running with the overlay as big as possible, just so you guys can see it, especially if you're on like a phone or something. But let's just drop now, and then when we get to the benchmarks, we'll run them. Okay, here we are. So we're here on the highway. So you need to run north to south, and here we start it. And look, so yes, 130, 140, 150. Like, you see, the lows are so much better here. So you're getting about the same average FPS, but look at those 0.1 and 1% lows. You're honestly getting insanely better lows. Like, oh, it's honestly just disgusting, dude. Like, this is why Intel is still winning here, just because these lows are just so much better. If you're going to be gaming, do you want to have the experience is going to have in your 0.1% lows? Are you going to want to be 40, 50 FPS higher? We're going to be feeling a significantly smoother and just better overall gaming experience. Or are you going to want to look up in the top left corner and be like, oh, I have 5 more FPS than the 1300K, but it's a stutter fest. The 7800X3D is very good, but if you can get a 1300K, then overclock it, or have someone like me overclock it, you're going to be getting a significantly better gaming experience. Now, I'm going to leave links down below, affiliate links down for the 13900K and the 7800X3D in case you are interested in purchasing either of these CPUs. Obviously would recommend the 13900K, but if you haven't already, hit that like button down below, subscribe, trying to get to 2,000 subs, but I will see you guys later in the next video. Later.